Japan in the 16th century was a land ruled by impatience. The Sengoku period was not defined by order or ideology, but by constant motion. Alliances shifted overnight, battles followed battles. Victory was measured in speed, not in stability. Daimyo rose quickly and fell just as fast. Power belonged to those who acted first. Hesitation was seen as weakness. To wait was to invite betrayal. In this world, survival depended on momentum. The sword moved before the mind had time to doubt. Oda Nobunaga embodied this age perfectly. He shattered tradition through relentless aggression. Where others negotiated, he attacked. Where others waited, he advanced. His rise was fast, brutal, and transformative. Toyotomi Hideyoshi followed a similar path. He expanded, unified, and pushed forward without pause, believing that constant movement would secure control. But speed carried a cost. Rapid conquest created fragile loyalty. Fear replaced trust. Power gained too quickly demanded endless maintenance. Every victory created new enemies, and every enemy waited for a moment of weakness. This was the environment in which Tokugawa Ieyasu observed, silently. While others rushed toward dominance, he watched their successes turn unstable. He noticed that those who seized power quickly were forced to defend it constantly. Action created exposure. Visibility invited resistance. The Sengoku era rewarded boldness, but it punished endurance. And Ieyasu understood something few others did. A system built on urgency cannot last. Strength without patience collapses under its own weight. Tokugawa Ieyasu did not rise through brilliance or heroic victories. His power was shaped by restraint, and that restraint was learned early. As a child, he was taken hostage, not once but repeatedly, used as a political tool by stronger clans. His life depended on obedience, silence, and patience. While other future leaders learned warfare on the battlefield, Ieyasu learned survival in captivity. He learned how power truly worked, not through open dominance, but through leverage, timing, and psychological pressure. Every command he obeyed was a reminder of his vulnerability. Every insult he endured became a lesson in control. For decades, Ieyasu lived under the shadow of stronger figures. He served Nobunaga. Later, he submitted to Hideyoshi. Publicly, he appeared loyal, cautious, even passive. Privately, he observed everything. He studied patterns: who rushed, who hesitated, who betrayed, and who lasted. What appeared to be weakness was deliberate restraint. Ieyasu understood that premature action exposes intent. To move too early was to invite destruction. By waiting, he remained unreadable. By complying, he avoided suspicion. His enemies underestimated him because they mistook patience for fear. Unlike his rivals, Ieyasu did not seek immediate dominance. He focused on positioning. He accumulated land quietly, secured alliances slowly, and avoided unnecessary conflict. Time worked in his favor, because time exhausted those who relied on constant aggression. Patience became his discipline. Silence became his shield. While others burned brightly and briefly, Tokugawa Ieyasu endured. And endurance, in a world driven by ambition, was the rarest form of strength. Patience is often misunderstood as inaction. In reality, it is one of the most aggressive strategies in the struggle for power. Tokugawa Ieyasu understood that waiting was not about doing nothing. It was about forcing others to move first. In a world driven by ambition, hesitation creates tension. Rivals begin to doubt. Allies grow impatient. The longer Ieyasu remained still, the more others revealed themselves. They spoke too much, acted too quickly, and exposed their intentions. Every delay became a test, and those who failed it eliminated themselves. By refusing to rush, Ieyasu gathered information without provoking resistance. He learned which daimyo were loyal, which were fearful, and which were secretly preparing betrayal. Unlike open conflict, patience carried no visible threat. It created no clear enemy. This made it impossible to justify attacking him. Time, in Ieyasu's hands, became a tool of psychological pressure. Those who relied on speed burned resources and trust. Their followers grew restless. Their alliances weakened. Meanwhile, Ieyasu conserved strength. He allowed his rivals to exhaust themselves while he appeared harmless. This strategy transformed uncertainty into advantage. Because no one knew when, or if, Ieyasu would act, no one could plan effectively against him. His restraint disrupted expectations. It denied others the clarity they needed to unite against him. Patience also allowed Ieyasu to shape outcomes without direct confrontation. He placed allies in strategic positions, encouraged divisions among his opponents, and waited for conflicts to erupt on their own. When violence occurred, it rarely pointed back to him. By the time war became unavoidable, the battlefield had already been prepared. Not with troops, but with time. What looked like passivity was, in truth, quiet domination. The Battle of Sekigahara is remembered as a monumental clash, the decisive moment that established Tokugawa Ieyasu as the master of Japan. Yet the truth is far more subtle. The outcome was largely determined before the first sword was drawn. Ieyasu entered the battle with decades of preparation. He had quietly cultivated alliances, placed daimyo in positions of uncertainty, and observed who could be swayed and who would inevitably betray. His rivals, confident in their numbers and speed, underestimated the depth of his patience. They believed the fight would be won by courage and aggression, not by strategy and timing. On the morning of the battle, the lines were drawn. Troops stood ready, but decisions had already been influenced. Several key daimyo switched sides at critical moments. Others hesitated, unsure of which faction would dominate. The battlefield was, in essence, a theater of choices already made in advance. Ieyasu's brilliance lay not in brute force, but in psychological mastery. By allowing his enemies to act first, he created opportunities for betrayal to reveal itself. The victory at Sekigahara was therefore not sudden. It was the natural consequence of patient orchestration. He did not rush to seize control. He guided the chaos silently, letting events fall into place like pieces on a board. When the fighting ended, it appeared decisive and overwhelming. Tens of thousands had clashed, blood had been spilled, and the nation had been unified under a single shogunate. Yet the true victory had been won long before the clash, through patience, observation, and the careful positioning of loyalty. Sekigahara was not merely a battle. It was a demonstration of how absolute power can be achieved without immediate confrontation. Tokugawa Ieyasu had mastered the art of winning before the fight even began. After Sekigahara, Tokugawa Ieyasu did not rely solely on swords to maintain his rule. He understood that true power is rarely enforced through constant confrontation. Instead, he created a system that controlled Japan through structure, law, and perception. The Tokugawa shogunate established mechanisms that turned potential rivals into tools of governance. The Sankin Kotai, or alternate attendance system, forced daimyo to spend years in Edo under supervision, draining their resources and ensuring loyalty. Samurai were transformed from warriors into administrators, their martial prowess harnessed for bureaucracy rather than war. Military threat became symbolic, not practical. Isolation, or sakoku, further cemented control. By restricting foreign influence, Ieyasu prevented outside powers from destabilizing Japan. Trade and diplomacy were carefully regulated, keeping ideas, technology, and ambition in check. The flow of information was as tightly controlled as the movement of armies. The shogunate's dominance depended less on intimidation than on the invisible pressure of order. Through these strategies, Tokugawa Ieyasu turned patience into permanence. He anticipated dissent and channeled it harmlessly. Fear of retribution existed, but more powerful was the understanding that breaking the system meant isolation, financial strain, and loss of status. Power was embedded into the daily lives of those who might challenge it. The genius of Ieyasu lay in his avoidance of constant warfare. He knew that ruling through fear alone is unstable. By transforming societal structure into a weapon, he ensured that rebellion became not only dangerous. The Tokugawa shogunate brought Japan an unprecedented era of peace. For over 2 centuries, the nation avoided large-scale internal conflict, and society flourished under order. Yet this peace was not without cost. Stability came at the expense of dynamism, and the very patience that secured Ieyasu's power would also shape Japan's long-term challenges. During these 250 years, the rigid social hierarchy became absolute. Samurai, once warriors, were confined to bureaucratic roles. Daimyo were bound by regulations that limited autonomy. Merchants, though increasingly influential, remained socially constrained. Every class functioned within a carefully managed system, designed to prevent rebellion but also to restrict innovation and mobility. The flow of ideas was slow, the potential for rapid change suppressed. Ieyasu's patience had created a controlled environment in which dissent was difficult, but stagnation inevitable. Society could endure, but it could not easily adapt. Artistic expression, economic experimentation, and technological advancement progressed within narrow limits. The fear of upsetting the system discouraged bold moves, and compliance became a survival skill. Even diplomacy reflected this controlled stagnation. Japan's isolation kept foreign ideas and threats at bay, but it also delayed exposure to innovations shaping the rest of the world. While other nations advanced through exploration, trade, and confrontation, Japan's controlled patience maintained stability at the cost of opportunity. Tokugawa Ieyasu's lesson is clear. Patience consolidates power, but it also shapes the future in unintended ways. Absolute control may prevent chaos, but it also limits freedom. The most enduring victories can quietly impose restrictions that last far longer than any battle. In the end, Ieyasu's legacy was a nation united, peaceful, and orderly, but one carefully held in a framework where patience was both protector and prison.